I just, I know it's been going on for a while, but I cannot get on like YouTube or Instagram or really any social media and not see something of some sort of the fitness, like a fitness influencer or somebody coming up like trying to build a channel like me, and you have titles of best way to do this, or if you're not doing this you won't get these results, or like let me show you the greatest way to do blah blah blah. It's just like endless, and it's like I'm sure they're more nuanced in their videos and content where they, you finally click on it, because these titles are basically clickbait, right? So if the thumbnail is not, the title definitely is. And I just hope they are more nuanced than what they claim to be. But I just want to throw this out here that like it's first off not that deep, and then second off it's not that complicated, and third, there's no one right way to do any of this. Quite literally any of this. So let's take an example really quick. If you're trying to build your back, you have a whole subset of people who say, deadlifts are king. Whole subset of people who, probably go on the bodybuilding route of it, like cable rows, dumbbell stuff, pull downs, isolated crap like that. And then you probably have people like me that I'm pretty big on deadlifts. I like deadlifts, but if I'm going for full on just back development, I'd say to do a lot more bent over rows, really just any rows in general. And then like rack pulls and stuff, so you're more isolated. And then all the little like other isolation movements and nuances, and you got to work other groups too. Like I'd say your overhead press is just as important, because you have to, standing overhead press for sure, you have to incorporate your back while you're doing that movement. And then there's just like, I'm about to go into the tangent now. There's so many nuances to the way you build size, strength, mobility, athleticism, all that stuff. And you could do it in multiple different avenues. Like you don't have to follow this. You could take a piece from all the things I just listed. You could literally do deadlifts, bent over rows, your pull downs, your cable stuff, all that. You can do all of that. Or you could just choose one thing to do. You could do weighted pull-ups and build a phenomenal back, as long as you just stay consistent with it. So I'm sure a lot of people are, I'm sure you are, I am just sick of seeing like you have to do this, or let me show you the best way to do that. How do you know it's the best way? Last video, I broke down how I am structuring my workouts, my sessions. I also wrote my, I think it was the last newsletter yesterday. I also broke down the way I'm structuring my training in the sense of being stronger and more athletic. And there's just so many ways you could do it. Like you could take mine, like you have the warm-ups, you have the plyos, you have the power main lift, I've been throwing in like the carry stuff, and then, which I need to add into that sequence. You can kind of blend the carrying stuff and the strength movement with either your strength and hypertrophy or your power movement. It's the nuances. So anyway, then you have strength and hypertrophy, and then you have the cool downs and mobility work. So that's how I structure my training right now. That's how I'm building out my plans, and I'll be going forward. And any like athlete that's in an off season or whatever, that's how I build their plans. That's what your focus is, because I'm trying to build a general physical preparedness type body, so I have good conditioning and I'm strong. I like that. That's my plan. But you can also get that way by just doing a few big lifts and going on runs. Like it doesn't have to be this huge structure of have to do this, and this. You don't have to do that. And even stuff as far as like bodybuilding, you don't have to be so rigid with what you do. Obviously, once you get to a certain level of things, there are what you could say as like non-negotiables, I guess. As in, if you get to a high level of bodybuilding and past your, where you're growing, you're more an advanced lifter, so it takes a lot more work to actually put some size on. Okay, so there's going to be non-negotiables of like, you got to do probably more volume, increase that intensity, and maybe be a little more particular about the movements you choose as like symmetry and where you need to build and how you want to look on stage, stuff like that. That all comes into play, yes. And the same thing is with, let's take a high-level grappler, right? Same, like once you get to a certain point, you need to, like training will become very simplified. So the non-negotiables, you don't want to overload with a bunch of training. So you want to do probably a few compound strength movements, mobility work, and then some joint health stuff. So you're not doing the same joint movements all the time as you would as a grappler, because you're always being submitted and training in these particular movement patterns on the joints, and you don't want to stress them so much in one way that they break down. So it's good to lift in different angles, if that makes sense. So there's these like, once you get to a high level, there's non-negotiables, there's ways that you can break it down to where it's more focused in a sense. But overall, and for the average person and the non top competitor, there are tons and tons of nuances. You can get to certain points by just doing something. And there's that thing where, do the lifts or the movements that you don't like because it's probably the ones that you're bad at, so you want to get better at them. Yes and no. Do stuff that overall you enjoy. So like training that you overall enjoy. So what do I mean by that? If you like the Olympic style stuff, but you hate snatches, just take snatches as one of your movements that you just don't like, but you like all the other stuff. So you can still lift in a Olympic style program and either not include snatches or just do them, less frequently. Just make sure you have that movement pattern down. I don't know if you're getting ready for a comp or whatever. It kind of depends, obviously. But if you're just doing it for fun, you can kind of structure it how you want. And the same goes into every other modality of training. Like if you're an endurance runner, this one gets a little, because that's a little more focused. You can't do so much. But say there's different training styles. I'm not a huge endurance training, coach or myself but like I don't know how much sprints they do, or if they have to do like, I don't know what those types of runs are, but you kind of run fast for a little bit, then you run slow for a little bit, and you run fast. I don't know. You could break it down to where maybe you don't like doing the sprinting aspect, so maybe don't ever do that, or do only the sprinting aspects in the gym. Or maybe you like, here's one. If you like endurance running and you want to build up that cardiovascular, but you have really terrible ankles or a knee or a hip or something, and running outside is awful for that, but you want to be an endurance runner, so you have to run inside on a treadmill. That would be a way of structuring it to where you can still do what you want to do, but you have to sacrifice. Hopefully that makes sense. I guess that was kind of a bad example for me to choose, because the endurance world's not really my expertise, or I don't really dabble in it too much outside of some conditioning work for myself and some of my athletes. So anyway, like long story short on this, what I'm trying to portray is that you can do whatever you want to do. As long as you're consistent, you'll probably hit your goal. As long as you keep that goal in mind and you focus on it and you don't go crazy. Like if you're trying to put on some decent size, obviously you need to eat some more and you need to lift with intensity and some volume. And you probably shouldn't be doing 20 miles of running outside every day. That just doesn't make any sense. Not saying that you can't do cardio and build size. It's just at some point, one of those has to be your goal, if that makes sense. And if you're running just as much or more than you are training and eating and stuff like that, then you're going to have a trade-off, or it's just going to be a lot harder. You're going to have a lot longer road. So if you like that, you can do it. You'll get there eventually. It'll be a lot longer because you're not focused in on something. So that's just my thing on every day tuning into YouTube or Instagram, I just see these things of the best this, the best that, or don't do this or don't do that, or I used to train like this or train like that. Yeah, people grow, or you get different you find different hobbies or interests, and you go down that road and you start training like that and whatnot. I used to be a bodybuilder. Now I do grappling, so I train how I want to compete and how I want to feel. I'm looking for general physical output and health, so I like to stay strong, keep myself mobile, and keep my conditioning up. So I'm healthy, and then I can also grapple just fine on the mat without being too gassed out and being pummeled by strength or whatever. So yeah. Anyway, I know I said I wasn't gonna go on a crazy rant with that, and I think it took off because I'm very passionate, I guess, about the stupidity I see on there. And I know it's about catching your attention and clickbait stuff, but I don't know. I don't see the need for it, because if you're putting out the right stuff, you're doing the right thing, and misleading people just doesn't seem right to me. And I'm not trying to be like a high horse over here. I'm just saying I'm not going to be clickbaity. Don't care to. If you want to watch my crap, watch my crap. If you don't, great. I'm still going to do it. Who cares? Okay, moving on. What I'm going to do today, I'll make this quick. We're going to go in. We're going to do a pull day. I think today's pull day, I had it written down as I was going to do deadlifts as my power movement, but I decided to move that onto the next pull day. So today is going to be either bent over rows or rack pulls. I have the choice in that power movement. So we'll see how I'm feeling after the warm up stuff, which one I go with. I really like rack pulls. It's one of my favorite movements, one of my favorite pull movements. I like to overload it, and I know it's like just do a deadlift, but it just feels different. You still get that hinge movement, but it's just when you're doing a rack pull, you can just really focus on the back, and I like that, as opposed to a deadlift where you're incorporating a lot more of your legs, your hips into it, which is good. It's great. I'll do deadlifts in a few days or something like that, but rack pulls I just like because you can isolate that back, and I feel like it really does build stronger traps, rhomboids, not so much the lats, but just that mid upper back kind of, and then going across on the traps up here. I feel like it really hones in that, and then also some of your lower back, because that hinge movement is still there, like a deadlift. But I also might just do bent over rows. So I might do the full thing with bent over rows with the barbell. I put it on there so I have the choice from week to week. I can kind of determine what I feel like, because honestly, heavier bent over rows takes a lot more effort and pull than a rack pull does. And still having, still not babying the lower back from my injury, but because I took some time off of really heavy focused on strength training, I'm trying to do a nice, good progression in this new series I'm doing. So I just want to make sure the lower back stays healthy and fit. It's felt fine the last few lifts, especially after those loaded back extensions. I was a little worried about that. So we, regardless of what we do, it probably won't be anything crazy heavy. Like I'm not gonna push for like 400 pounds on that rack pull if I do rack pulls, and I probably won't go up to 225 or plus on the bent over rows. Probably if I do bent over rows, won't go over a plate, and then the rack pulls probably won't go over 2. I might do 1 set of 3 plates, but that's about it. Just don't want to push it. I want to get stronger and stay healthy. I do not want to get injured again, and I just want to, mainly because like last video I talked about how I want to get on a routine, and it's hard to. If you start feeling achy or hurt or whatever, getting back on a routine is even harder than it is just getting on that routine. So just warming up that bent over row. Starting some weight now. Really banking on I can use this footage, but there's a bunch of music playing on, so we'll see if I can even use it for talking points. Alright. Starting out with 25 on each side. Going for 6. Nice and easy. Using the real metal too. Okay, some would say this is blasphemy, but I could care less what the plates look like, as long as they are both 45. Where I draw the line though is like if you have a bunch of different random sized ones on each side. Even like it adds up to the same amount on each side, but it's not. Like say you have a 45 over here and you have like a 25 and a 10 and or like 2 10s or whatever with it. So yeah. Okay, 135, 6. Okay, can't remember what I said in the intro, if I was going to go above 135 or not. I'm not going to go to 225 today, but I'm going to do 185 and see what I can get out of it. Do 4 to 6 depending on how I feel with the reps. not bad. Back still feels fine, so probably a couple more sets of this and then we'll move on. I'm not gonna raise it any higher. Alright, so instead of the lat pull down on the cable machine, I'm gonna use this machine over here in the corner. Try to dodge the music in the back. Alright, going for 12. Okay, I'm gonna bump that up a little bit. 345s each side. It's all put together, so it's 6 in total. It doesn't split arm to arm for this, but it does like widen up when you come down, so it's pretty sweet. Okay, we're gonna jump right back in. The heavier weight. Shoot for 12 again. Come on. Okay. Full transparency. Forgot my battery, my other battery. This is dying. So, just gonna shoot one set from the rest of the workout because I don't have enough battery life. So we got single arm rows here using the machine. Gotta fix this seat. Alright, let's go. Okay, sake of battery time, or battery life, I'm gonna superset the last arm stuff. So I'm gonna do standing cable, E-bar curls, and then seated dumbbell hammer curls. So let's do it. Fucking squeaky. Okay. outside some mobility work.